Hello and welcome to episode 225 of the Casual Set Review Podcast. I mean, Try Hard Podcast.
What it
I'm
feels like
Brian.
recently. Yeah, and I'm
Yes, I'm
James.
Brian. Yeah. So, for some reason, Wizards thought that while your cards were still in the mail from TCG Player, that you, of course, bought with our affiliate link,
Right.
that they would release another set. So even before you get your cards, they would like you to have another set.
Yeah, they thought Standard was getting stale, so they'd inject some more cards. And then at the same time make rotation longer.
Yay, we did it. Yay.
Sure.
Yeah. It's like Standard is stale because this set's been out for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Awesome. So, if you would like to get at us on social media and tell us about all the things you love about Standard Magic and teeny tiny sets that come out right after sets that just released, you can get at us on social media. All of those links are in the description below.
Yeah, hit us up. Let us know what you think. If you're looking to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. The first is, like Brian mentioned, with our TCG Player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. It's a new link. Make sure you follow this one, not the old one. The old one doesn't work anymore. Anything you purchase after following that link from TCG Player will help to support the show. We'll get a percentage of and help pay all our fees for keeping the podcast going. And if you want to support us more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. That link hasn't changed. Patrons get access to our pre-show, which is kind of just an hour of us talking about what we're going to do, making sure our equipment works, kind of catching up. More content, completely unscripted, unedited, just raw us for an hour. If that interests you, you can sign up. Patrons also get access to our show notes, so you get a sneak peek about what the next week's episode is going to be of. And you get put on my mailing list for when I have swag to send out. And the next round of mailing should be going out soon. It was on my to-do list this weekend, and I didn't quite get there. So it'll be going out at some point this month. And if anybody wants in on that, sign up for Patreon at patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Chip a couple bucks in, help support the show directly to us, and you get some sweet perks. So check that out.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, March of the Machine Aftermath, they are doing a small set that'll be standard legal that is supposed to finish off the story from March of the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were on the internet for any period of time in the last 3 weeks, you will have heard about, was it old school MTG?
Yeah, I think so.
Some guy who
Those box openings
accidentally somehow stumbled into March of the Machine's Aftermath packs.
Yep.
And then opened them on his channel. And then had the bad guys from Red Dead Redemption 2, the Pinkertons,
Yes, the
show
same
up at
people.
his. Yes. Did you know? I learned this in this whole ordeal. There is a federal law from 1894 called the Anti-Pinkerton Act.
No, really?
That says the U.S. government will not contract with the Pinkertons for anything.
Like, it calls them out specifically?
It's the Anti-Pinkerton Act. Specifically, we will not deal with this company.
Wow.
The same government that currently deals with Blackwater. It's like, you know what, these guys? No. Can't mess with them. Showed up at this dude's house and were like, we believe you have something that belongs to Mark Rosewater. And he was like, what do you mean?
Mark
like,
Rosewater specifically.
Yeah. Papa Hasbro says you have something that belongs to him. We would like it back. And so he had to give back the cards because they were quote unquote stolen.
Mm.
Now, you would think if Wizards really thought this was stolen merchandise, they would perhaps involve the police, not a private security force
squad.
known for busting unions and general other malfeasance for 150 years.
Yeah.
No, they were like, you have stolen property. we hired mercenaries. It's like, what? What is this?
It's quite the
Anyway,
leap.
quite the leap, exactly. You have some stolen magic cards, mercenaries.
Right.
Straight on, of course. But they um so this guy opened like uh 2 or 3 or something collector booster boxes
I think it
of the
was 2
set.
collector booster boxes.
And
I actually saw the first video when it
mhm,
was published. I don't think I saw the second one, and then I guess both of them have been removed since then.
yeah, he
According
posted a
to
video about like the Pinkertons coming to his
oh,
house.
okay, I didn't see that either. According to the guy in his first video, he had purchased like regular March collector boosters and was sent these. Like he didn't purchase them as aftermath boosters.
Yeah, which is like wild, but at the same time though, with some of the wild print quality issues, I could definitely see like the wrong label being put on a box.
Well, especially since they're releasing like 3 weeks apart. Like all of the stuff was already printed for aftermath when pre-release was happening.
Yeah, and like it says March of the Machine,
Right.
and then you're just like, yeah, here,
I think the
whatever,
boxes are similar color schemes too, right? Like I
maybe.
know the aftermath has like the graffiti stuff on it, but I think the color
Yeah.
schemes are similar.
So, like 30, I think he spoiled 36 out of the 50 cards, and there have been like 2 cards like released officially or something beforehand.
Yeah.
So basically 2-ish weeks ago, all of the basically 75% of the set had already been like released,
Yeah.
right? So last week, Wizards were like, hey, here's a Twitter thread where we're going to release every card on Twitter all in a single day because why bother?
Right.
And so, spoiler season was like 8 hours with an intern just like putting like pictures in a Twitter thread and hitting send.
Yeah.
So that was fun. But now we have the set. It's 50 cards. I think you have all the details here, right? Because you're
Yeah.
smart.
There's a link to the article there if you want to peruse the article, but it's a 50 card set, so very small set. Um, there's no commons, so completely leaving the pauper players hung out to dry there. I guess depending on how
Sorry,
you look
Brad.
at it, maybe it's a blessing.
Maybe it's a blessing. Yeah.
There's 15 uncommons, 25 rares, and 10 mythic rares. These are in 5 card booster packs. So when you purchase a booster pack of Aftermath, you will be receiving 5 Magic the Gathering cards.
Only 5.
Only 5. And they're the same price as a normal
Get
booster
some.
pack. Yeah. But I
Seems
guess
good.
you get the benefit of not creating manufacturing waste with 200 copies of the same comic,
I guess.
I guess.
I guess. Way to find the upside on that one.
Yeah.
It was
Hey,
good. It was good.
trying to turn over a new leaf, looking for the bright side.
Looking for the bright side. I would like to turn over a new leaf of Mythic Spoiler not throwing up 85 ads when I'm trying to look at cards, but I don't know, we're gonna get there. So yeah, so there are 5 card boosters, and I think you said they are the same price as a regular boosty.
Yep.
Now, this gentleman opened collector boosters,
Mhm.
and I'm just looking at some Amazon prices.
Yep.
Um, so to pre-order, I'm sorry, collector boosters of March of the Machine, you get 12 packs, and they
Hmm.
put in parentheses exactly how many magic cards that is.
Oh, okay.
That is 72 magic cards because there are 6 magic cards in a collector booster pack.
Ooh.
And you can pre-order these for $190 dues.
Excellent.
That means on average, you're paying $2.50 per magic card.
Yikes.
Now, that is cheaper because you're buying in bulk, but a single collector booster is $19 for 6 cards, and that is a little over $3 a Magic card.
Wow.
Um, I've not opened a lot of collector boosters, but I am willing to bet that if you watched the professor play the booster pack game with collector boosters, he would not pay for a lot of boosters
Yeah.
because how often do you open a pack of Magic cards and get 6 $3 cards?
Never.
Never. Right. So, um, this is like full on insanity
Yeah.
at $19 a pack for 6 cards. There's like the cards either have to be the rares and mythics have to either be astronomically expensive
Hmm.
or you just lose your shirt
Yeah, you
every
can.
single time you open a pack.
We're going to talk about some cards in a minute here. I don't see anything in this set that is going to be astronomically expensive. Like, nothing beats
No,
me over the head that this is the most powerful thing to do in one or more formats.
yeah, it just does not seem like it's going to get to that level.
Yeah.
So this just seems like just utter insanity. Like I thought that the collector booster packs would have like more cards in them
Yeah.
because there isn't a regular collector booster at least like 15 cards or maybe a little bit more,
Yeah, I think so. I
right?
wonder,
Like
because it's 6 cards, I wonder if they're counting the double-sided foil token as a card.
I don't know. Let's look at the Amazon thing. Uh, mm, so it contains 6 Magic the Gathering cards rich with story, including 4 of rarity, rare or higher.
Okay.
Contents, no, that's just for
Oh, yeah.
the
No,
box.
it's 6 plus the token.
6 plus the token?
Yeah.
Okay. But that just seems like a March of the Machines collector booster has 15 cards
Okay.
and is $26 according to Amazon. So I guess slightly cheaper, but still like with a regular collector booster, you have to open a bunch of $1.50 cards
Hmm.
or $1.80 cards or something to like come close to breaking even.
Yeah.
Like this just seems way, way, way worse.
Yeah.
So anyway, itty bitty boosters, right after the set releases.
Do you remember,
My
like, way back when you were just a wee lad playing Magic and you were opening Fallen Empires packs or Homelands packs
That's how big they were.
or the Dark packs?
Mm-hmm.
I think they were 8-card packs, but
And
they
you
were also
and you
like,
got 3 basic lands. Oh,
well, no, not that was in like Alpha Beta Unlimited
yeah.
Revised. Um, but they were also priced accordingly. Like, even MSRP was, I think, $2 for one of the small packs instead of $3 or whatever for the normal size pack.
Yeah.
Not the case
Yeah,
any
no,
longer.
no. So when they first announced this, my thought was this was going to be basically like paper alchemy.
Hmm.
And we had talked about this on the show where there's a lot of other games that do like Hearthstone and whatnot that do like a mini set release,
Yeah.
like after their main set release, so that you don't run into the problem that we run into with Magic, where you release a set, 4 million games get played in the first week.
Yep.
Here's the best decks, and then you just run those into each other for 11 weeks, or
Yep.
really like 8 weeks, and then you start thinking about what you're going to build with the next set of cards, and you stop playing a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So it was like, oh, like this could be good. Like, 6, 8 weeks in, you release this set, it shakes things up. People are still more engaged and interested with standard.
Hmm.
I no clue what this serves being released 2 weeks after the set.
Yeah. No, the timing is timing is not great for sure.
right? When I said you're still waiting on your cards from TCG Player, I ordered 4 Italies
Hmm.
a week ago. They're still not here,
Yeah.
right? Like if I wanted to play a tally at my FNM, I don't have a tallies.
Right.
I probably have them next week, and I'm gonna be like, oh man, I gotta get March of the Machines cards, Aftermath cards. Like, come on.
Yep.
So like this would make sense to me as a product that was released at the end of May,
Mhm.
beginning of June, as like a hey, like let's shake this up, especially since we're not going to give you another set for
Yeah.
um till August, but to like release it 2 weeks later just doesn't seem great.
Well, I mean, that's kind of something that I mentioned quick in the pre-show too. Is we've seen, like, judging by Wizards history, when they find something that's remotely successful, they will. And I don't know if this is going to be successful or not, but they very quickly latch onto it and then run it into the ground over and over
Hmm.
and over and over again. So I would not be surprised if we got, Throne of Eldraine epilogue or Wilds of Eldraine epilogue and
Hmm.
whatever the Ixalan set's called, part 2, where this was
Exactly.
just what we did going forward, kind of for the reasons that you just mentioned. Um, but I definitely hope they space it out a little bit better in the future, like maybe alter the pace of releases a little bit to better accommodate for these mini sets.
Yeah, it's hard when they're also like we are talking in the pre-show. We're looking at some other cards on Mythic Spoiler, and we were like, "What is CMM?" It's like, "Oh, that's Commander." I found out it was Commander Masters, and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay." And then they were also at the Magic. They're Magic Cons now.
Mhm.
Magic Con in Minneapolis. They were like, "Here are some Lord of the Rings cards." So like, this set's not even out, and they're already on to the next 2 products.
Right.
So it's a little hard to keep track of. But yeah,
Mhm.
so we've got this itty bitty set that could serve a purpose, but currently just seems to perhaps support Wizards' bottom line.
Yeah.
And there's only 50 cards, and we're going to talk about a few.
Well, hang on. Before we move on to
Okay.
talking about the cards, I do have one more tidbit that I wanted to point out, and that's that despite this only being a 50 card format or a 50 card set, it's closer to somewhere between a 300 or 400 card set
Yes.
because every single card in this set has at least 6 versions of it, even the
Sick.
uncommons.
So they've got like regular treatment foil,
Hmm.
some like full art version,
Hmm.
and a foil.
And then whatever, kind of like they did for March of the Machine, where cards had like the fancy borders relating to whatever plane they're from.
Hmm.
They're doing that again here also.
Okay.
And then on top of that, some cards also have what appears to be like the foil etched border, where it's like the dark solid color. And
Mm.
then that's also available in foil. And I think there was also like another foil treatment. So there might even be more than that, like a fancy foiling.
Amazing.
Yeah. So for you
So
collectors out there, even though it's a 50 card format, you got like 400 cards to collect.
good luck.
Yeah,
Godspeed.
that's right.
Um so yeah, that's a little awkward
Yeah.
that they've done this way. And another thing, and we've talked about how this can be like a trap of evaluation, but like a lot of these cards just scream like I hope you and 3 other friends are playing.
Hmm.
Right? A lot of these cards just like read like commander cards,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like, oh, we don't have a red light, a red white commander that does this exact thing with equipment.
Right.
We better make it. But
So going into the cards, I'm not sure how you want to do this. Um, I hadn't really planned on doing another topic, but I think we're going to try and squeeze another topic in. So I don't know if you just want to look at the card file and pick some cards out, or whether you want to go through the ones that I picked out.
We can talk about a few. We can. I think your list is a good place to start. There's a few that I wanted to add, so
Okay.
we may like skip something or talk about something else. But I did like Copper Cup Vanguard
Okay.
as the first card.
This one here.
So yeah. Oh, look at you, already prepared. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is one in the white for a 2/2 human soldier, and each other human you control gets +1/+0 and has ward 1.
Yeah.
Um. So first, amazing design that we have soldiers in standard, and this thing cares about humans. Chef's kiss. But um, this kind of makes it so all your opponent has to pay like a Thalia tax on all their targeted removal.
And that's if you don't already have a
I already
Thalia
have
in
a
play.
Thalia,
Yeah.
right? So like there are a number of cards. There's another one here as well that like are good in the generic humans deck that's just not competitive enough.
Right.
And it just feels like it's like, how would you like to build humans? Because there's like 4 different ways to do it.
Hmm.
It can all do slightly different things, but this card just feels like it's kind of a lord.
Hmm.
It's protection,
Yep.
right? It does everything you need it to do.
So
I
like,
think
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the problem with humans in Pioneer is you don't have Champion of the Parish,
Yeah.
right? You don't have like a really good one drop that is a human, like
Yeah.
whatever recruitment, whatever guy,
Recruitment
the
officer.
yeah, recruitment officer, the one
Yeah.
mana 1/2 or 1 mana 2/1, like just not good enough
Yeah.
in like Pioneer,
Yeah.
right?
Um,
It needs something else.
the one thing that I wanted to mention about this, and we'll see how it plays out. How much time have you ever spent watching Slivers?
Um, I know Slivers does ridiculous things rather quickly.
The most powerful, important card in whatever version of Slivers you're watching is Diffusion Sliver,
Mm-hmm.
and this is some portion of Diffusion Sliver for humans. So,
Crystalline Sliver would have something to say to you, but
same basic
same thing.
premise though. Yeah.
Yeah, basically the thing that protects all of your idiots
Yeah.
is the card that really matters, and Thalia does that job.
Hmm.
Like and then this does that. Like if you had a curve of recruitment officer into this guy, they take 3,
Hmm.
right? And then if they don't kill this guy, then you're like Thalia,
Right.
or you go recruitment officer Thalia, and then you play this guy. They just can't kill any of your stuff,
Right.
and then you're just like trying to clock them as quickly as humanly possible,
Hmm.
and like that seems reasonable.
Yep.
So it is pretty good.
Hmm.
Now we got to figure out what are our next cards here. Oh, okay. Next up, you have Filter Out.
Yeah. This
What do
is
we think?
1 blue for an instant. Return all non-creature, non-land permanents to their owner's hands.
Like somewhere around Hercule's Recall and like
Hercule's Recall
uh,
wasn't an instant though, was it?
it is.
Is it? I thought it was sorcery for some
I'm
reason.
almost positive it is an instant. We will find out. It is an instant.
Okay.
So, like, Lord help your opponent. Oh no, I guess like I say, like it doesn't like so it gets a bunch of artifacts and like planeswalkers. It's like Hercule's Recall, but for planeswalkers.
It also hits enchantments
Okay, your opponent on
in battles.
sick their sick 9 life solemnity combo.
Hmm. It also
No,
hits battles. I mean, I don't know that that's super relevant,
super
but
irrelevant. But yeah.
and I didn't necessarily think this was good for the fact that it, bounces your opponent's stuff. Like it also bounces your stuff. Like in kind of like a budget. Not that Paradoxical Outcome is super expensive, but this costs a mana less for
Mhm.
like egg style decks.
Yeah, especially like if you have like mana rocks and you can generate more mana
Yeah.
than you're like costing with filter out,
Hmm.
right? You know, I guess Moxin, so
Yeah.
let's say Mox Amber and Mox Diamond, those kind of things,
Yep.
or like mana rocks. Yeah, I can see it. Um, and then we have Vesuvan Drifter.
Yeah. This
What
is
is this thing doing?
2 and a blue for a 2/4 shapeshifter with flying. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. At the beginning of each combat, you may reveal the top card of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, the Vesuvan Drifter becomes a copy of that card until end of turn, except it has flying. Um, I'm not sure if this card is good or not, but I remember like how much fun we had brainstorming around Conspicuous Snoop or
Hmm.
Snoop.
Yeah.
Um, and this card is that for every tribe.
Hmm. I mean, the natural home is put an Emrakul on top.
Yeah, I mean you don't get the cast trigger, but yeah, Annihilator 6 and yeah,
Annihilator 6, that'll do.
yeah.
Or if you have like a big haste creature,
Hmm.
you just play it and bonk them.
Something with a monster attack trigger.
Yeah. Um it's there. I think you put in this like there's gonna be a combo with this. I think kind of like Bogart Harbinger
Hmm.
and Conspicuous Snoop. Like, yeah, there's gonna be something.
Yeah, I don't know what the something is, but it's reasonably costed.
And it becomes a copy.
Yeah,
So like if you have an Atraxa on top, right, it becomes a 7/7.
yep,
So it just doesn't get the abilities. It's like 7/7, like bash you, gain 7.
right.
Not that it's on the list, but just to call out Training Grounds,
Hmm.
which has only been printed in like the Zendikar original Zendikar block, is getting a reprint.
Yeah,
So I
I
think it
wasn't
was
sure
kind
that
of
that.
expensive.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that it did anything
I
in
don't think it
like in any place
does.
that it wasn't already legal. So that's the only reason I left it off the list. It wasn't.
I I agree that it probably doesn't do any. Wait. Okay. So, um, so it is on the list. It is $28 from Rise of the Eldrazi. It's 23.
Okay.
It's 12 in March of the Machines Aftermath. And again, there are a million versions of it. There are one, two, three, four versions of it.
Well, I mean, there's at
Uh,
least 6 if it's an aftermath. There's at least 6
yeah.
versions.
But do you remember the old Eldrazi Displacer? Oh gosh, Drowner of Hope
Hmm.
with Training Grounds. It's infinite mana,
That's true.
which you get to now do in Pioneer.
Yep.
Probably not good because those cards were printed before 2019,
Yeah.
but um, a thing that could happen. But yeah, it's more just like, hey, if you've wanted a Training Grounds for like a commander deck or some goofy combo that you've wanted to play,
Yeah.
but you didn't want to separate yourself from $25, these should work their way down.
Yeah.
Black. Oh, no black cards.
Yeah.
Excellent. I
I
like where
I
your
didn't
head's
see
at.
anything from Black unless there's something there that jumps out to you.
No, there's like basically like a functional reprint of like Soul Shatter, but other than that,
Yeah. The
uh,
like the only one that I thought was mildly interesting was the Vampire Lord, but
mhm.
I don't think it's interesting enough to warrant discussion about. So
Yeah. Well, there's also Urberg Scavengers, which is like knockoff Soul Flare.
yeah, it's not as good though, right?
Probably not, but it's there.
Yeah.
All right, red cards. and you do have the best. My most probably most interesting or second most interesting card from the set is what you picked. So good job.
Well, go ahead and talk about it then.
So this is Reckless Handling, 1 in a red for a sorcery. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle, then discard a card at random. If an artifact was discarded this way, Reckless Handling deals 2 damage to each opponent. So it is gamble for artifacts.
Mhm.
Um, like,
Is there a specific artifact we would like to gamble for?
um, I mean, I've spent too much time getting Godfarer's gifts,
Yep, that's a good one.
or Portal to Phyrexia, which is just better Godfarer's gift.
Yeah.
Um, but like a lot of times you have right, you would have ways to discard
Mhm.
to get through your deck, but then like you wouldn't have the artifact.
Right.
Right now you could go like insolent neonate into reckless handling, get your, whatever, right? Whatever thing you needed to get your Portal Phyrexia or Godfarer's gift.
Yeah.
And then if you discarded it,
Good.
fine, you get to do something. And if you don't, now you've got it in your hand for you to like work your discard magic.
Yep. Get rid of it.
And
Try
like,
and find your reanimation spell.
yeah, exactly. So you've already you've given yourself 8 copies of the thing you want to reanimate.
Yeah.
And then like the reanimation side, we already have 8 copies of that.
Right.
More than 8 copies. So, right, this just lets you find whatever thing you need to find.
Hmm.
Uh so it can make those decks way more consistent. I don't know if they're good with all the incidental graveyard hate that we have, but it does make them more consistent.
Yeah. Obviously, this isn't probably going to replace Gamble in any place that Gamble was legal, but is this enough of Gamble for modern? Like, is there anything cool we can do in modern with this?
Mm, I don't know because like there's Goblin Welder, not Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer,
Yeah.
which goes and puts the artifact directly into your graveyard.
Hmm. It's
I
slow though,
mean,
because it's over the course of like 2 turns, right?
you get it and then you get to bring it back eventually.
Yeah.
So like Goblin Engineer kind of does both halves of what you want to do, but I think there's a mana cost
Yeah, I
restriction,
think there
right?
is a mana, like
It's like
3.
3.
Yeah, I think it's 3 mana value.
Uh, Search your library for an artifact card. Yeah, and then sacrifice an artifact, return one with mana value 3 or less. But like Goblin Engineer kind of does the thing.
Hmm.
I mean, oh gosh, your Juggernauts deck.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Hey, Juggernauts.
That's
It
where its home is Juggernauts.
it finds you more Juggernauts.
Yep.
Um, maybe like if you had enough big artifacts and then like you don't care what you discard and
Yep.
you're just like trash for treasure and refurbish as like your ways to get it back, and like I don't care, like I'll cast this, and if I discard my big thing, fine. If not, I'll have a way to discard it later
Hmm.
and then do the thing. So maybe, but like Gamble's just way more flexible in it. Like if this cost 1 mana, then we'd be like really talking.
Yeah. Well,
But
like I said, I don't see this replacing Gamble anywhere Gamble's legal,
no,
but like Gamble's not legal in modern, so
no, I guess like
or
none of the good
Explorer.
none of the like quote unquote good reanimation targets are artifacts in modern, right? Like so, like even if you went to go
Yeah.
find something really big, right? It's not like you're gonna go find
You can go get a
Archon of
Blightsteel.
Cruelty. You can get Blightsteel. You can get no, Blightsteel can't go to the graveyard.
Oh, that's right. You can get a Cityscape Leveler.
Cityscape Leveler, Sunder Dad.
Yep, Sundering Titan.
Um, again, whatever his name is, that makes everything a Juggernaut.
Mhm.
get him in there.
I mean, is getting a worm coil enough?
Probably not, just because like you get solituded and you get like nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Or a
Uh,
Cauldra Complete?
hmm. Yeah, maybe. Like that thing's hard to deal with. I don't know, like this kind of effect is like always reasonable, like especially if you're in a situation where like if it's in my hand, fine.
Yeah.
If it's in my graveyard, also fine. I
Yeah.
don't care where it is as long as like I have it.
Mhm.
And if you can make a deck where it doesn't matter that it's like, maybe if it goes to the graveyard, it's like upside,
Is this
then
what about like in Tron? Like is this playable in Tron?
um
I mean, it's awkward because you have a chance of like discarding your power plant or whatever, but
yeah. I don't know, like I feel like just ancient stirrings is probably better.
yeah, just digging for something is better than digging for something specific.
Yeah, especially like, I guess they maybe don't play big Karn anymore. It's like little Karn and like other random stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like the things that you really want to get aren't artifacts. They're like just big colorless idiots.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I think that you could do some fun things. And like I've been watching Aspiring Spike. This seems like a card Aspiring Spike will build like some nonsense deck around.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I think like I was thinking Pioneer, like, oh, it'd be like this kind of solves the like Godfarer's gifts problem.
Yeah.
Like you just always get to have a Godfarer's gift
Mhm.
and it doesn't matter, you just get one. And like if it goes in the graveyard, fine. And if not, hopefully your deck is set up in such a way that you can get it in your graveyard.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
like it has the same gamble problem though, where like if you gamble for your God Pharaoh's gift, you run the risk of getting rid of your refurbish or your trash refresher
fair.
or whatever your reanimation spell is.
No, no, very true, very true. Where you're just like, oh, that was sad.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I don't know. It's sadly there's not one with flashback. Our reanimation spell is
Yeah.
get back a creature. You don't have a flashback one. I don't know. Give them 3 months. They'll be like, here's a flashback refurbish.
Yeah. It's a
Re-
evidently flashback is deciduous now. They can use it whenever they
yeah,
want. So
this is refurbish. Um,
yeah,
so
it'll be a
frame
split
off.
card. Refurbish repair. Only cast repair from your graveyard.
Oh, there we go.
It's an aftermath card. An aftermath.
Oh man, why didn't they do that?
I don't know.
Gosh, gosh. All right. So then we have a green card.
Yep, just the one. This is Nissa Resurgent Animist. 2 and a green for a 3/3 legendary elf scout with landfall. Whenever a land ETBs under your control, add 1 mana of any color. So it's Lotus Cobra. Then, if this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an elf or elemental card. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Um, like Super Lotus Cobra.
Yeah, super duper Lotus Cobra.
Um,
It's like Lotus Cobra that draws you gas.
yes. Make sure you don't run out of things to do.
Yeah.
Like, I want this to like go in like my elementals deck,
Hmm.
but then it's just another thing, much like uh uh oh god, Elishnorn,
Yeah.
that isn't an elemental in your deck that plays Risen Reef and really wants you to have a bunch of elementals.
Yeah.
But it does just make it so you don't run out of things to do and it gets you mana.
Hmm.
Also, this card is like silly with Elishnorn because
Yes.
every land double triggers it, so you get 2 mana and a card.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like you like play your fetch land, you get 2, you pass the turn, you correct your fetch, you get 2 mana and another card.
Yeah.
Um, it's just a little awkward though, right?
Yeah.
Like it's Like, it feels like it's not an elementals card as much as it is like a landfall card,
Yeah, I mean, I
right?
don't
Like,
like you said, you can only have so many non-elemental cards in your elemental deck. And I don't like elves really, I don't think wants this either because elves make their own mana. Normally
yeah, elves
elf
play like
decks,
18 lands or
yeah,
something.
you're not looking at making two land drops a turn. Um, and while, like in modern and stuff, they play fetches, like you're not in any other format, you're not really looking to play Fabled Passage because you always want your land untapped and you really don't need your fourth land.
Yeah, and like, um, Lotus Cobra is not seeing a whole lot of play anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, it's a 2/1, has its own set of liabilities, but like Nissa being a turn more expensive Lotus Cobra
Hmm.
is probably not doing a whole lot for her.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's good enough. Like Lotus Cobra is a very powerful card.
Oh yeah, Lotus Cobra is super close. It's just like there are
And
some
this is
things
a
that don't
way
line up
less
for her.
fragile Lotus Cobra. I mean,
It
part of the
is.
problem with Lotus Cobra is it just dies to anything.
Ren and 6 exists.
Yeah, like Spikefield Hazard.
Yeah. So like this is like that is also a thing. Like they reprinted Lotus Cobra, but they were like, let's put Spikefield Hazard in the
Yeah.
format just in case. Um so I think Nissa is like super close. And like if there is like a landfall deck that can like appear in like Pioneer where you're like Lotus Cobra, Nissa, and then you're just like hit an extra like hit a land drop
Hmm.
and just kind of go crazy.
Well,
It seems
if you Lotus Cobra on 2 and then this on 3, do you have enough on turn 4 for the guy that doubles all your landfall triggers?
who's that?
I don't know, isn't there some big green nerd that doubles all landfall abilities?
Maybe. I mean, you definitely have enough for mom,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
right?
That works too.
You could just go like Lotus Cobra this, play your land, you would have 6 mana.
Yeah.
Then like if it's a fabled passage, play bomb, crack it,
Hmm.
and then make a ton of mana. You'd have 5 mana again.
Yeah.
Now, it's only if this is the second time.
Right. So you don't
So
get
like
anything. Well, you still get a mana for your third
you
time.
still
You
get a
just,
mana,
yeah.
but you don't like it's not like you could draw like 6 creatures that turn or something and just like refill your hand.
Right.
It's it's close.
Hmm. It's
So
also
I'm not sure.
companyable.
It is, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Um and then there's whatever a Shia that turns all your creatures into lands,
Oh, yeah. That's fun.
right? And then you have 2 Lotus Cobras because that was like one of the early builds of elementals I had is like you try to like Genesis Ultimatum into that guy and some Lotus Cobras, and then if you have like multiple Nissas and you do that,
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I have like 2 Lotus Cobras and a Nissa and like 3 lands. Oh, okay,
Yep.
or 2
Storm the
lands or whatever.
festival and flash it back.
Hmm. Yeah, you just get to do everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our monocolored cards. We have a couple multicolored cards.
Yeah. First one is Calyx Guided by Fate. 1 green white for a 2/2 legendary enchantment creature human druid. A very long type line.
Hmm.
It has Constellation. Whenever Calyx Guided by Fate or another enchantment enters a battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So it doesn't have to be on Calyx. And then whenever Calyx or an enchanted creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may create a token that's a copy of a non-legendary enchantment you control. Once per turn.
Okay. Um, I mean, what Cetacean Champion?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that drew a card and got
It
bigger,
drew a
right?
card and, yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of draws a card.
Um, well, its constellation ability doesn't
Well,
like Cetacean.
yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it is a card that like you would look at in like maybe as like a 2 of and like green white hexproof aura stuff.
Mhm.
Right, like you just wanted like an extra thing. Because like they were playing the green guy that puts a counter on something whenever you cast an enchantment,
The one drop, yeah.
like the one drop. Like it being a one drop I know is important, but like this is just more than that,
Mhm.
right? Like it's just better than that. Where if you could like play Calyx, or like you play like your so like say Slippery Bogle, but Glade Cover Scout,
Yeah.
enchant it, and then you play like Calyx, and they're like, well, I can't block it. And now like they just get to keep making copies of ethereal armor.
Yeah. Gets out of hand quick.
Yeah, it's like, well, I guess I have to like chump block with my creature.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, like I just like lose.
Yeah.
And if I do, I'm just going to lose as well. So I'm just kind of stuck.
Is there any way that we like lean into the +1/+1 counter theme on this instead of the enchantment theme? Because we have the two guys from March, right? The one that puts an extra counter on stuff and the one that gets a counter if it sees something else gets a counter.
The botanical brawler is the gets a counter when something gets a counter, and then Kami of
Yeah.
something.
The old
Um,
ways. Is that it?
yeah, maybe it's coming the old
Yeah.
ways. Maybe, but like it also wants you to play enchantments, right? Because you don't get the +1/+1 counter unless an
Yeah.
enchantment enters the battlefield. So you're at this weird like crossroads of you need to play enchantments that give counters or get counters. So that like you can get it on like both sides. So
Yeah.
that like the counter synergies matter when you don't have him.
Mhm.
And I don't know if we have that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at the card pool, which we have way
Yeah,
more time to do now.
way more time. Um Next up we have, is it Jin Jin
Jer- Jarena?
Jarena?
Yeah.
Hooked on Fox didn't get to West Virginia. I'm sorry. Jarena Dauntless General. It's black white for a 2/2 human soldier. It's legendary. And when it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard.
Incidental graveyard hate.
Incidental graveyard hate, yeah. And then sacrifice uh
Jarena.
Jarena, thank you.
Yep.
Humans you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Yeah. So this gives it's a selfless spirit for humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Um,
know how relevant that is, but I would imagine it's at least a one of if you're playing some sort of human
oh,
strategy.
absolutely.
It's also a soldier.
It is a soldier. So now we're in Esper soldiers in standard.
Maybe.
We're gonna get there. But like, if you somehow played like Abzan humans,
Mhm.
right? You have what's his name? General Kudrow.
Yep. And the general's
King, whatever.
enforcer.
Well, General's Enforcer.
Yep.
But I think this is better than General's Enforcer.
Mhm.
Um, and then King, whoever with a bunch of letters after his name.
Yeah.
But the number, the giant, like the
Yeah.
57th or whatever. Right, as like lords, and then you're just like, well, I'm like, I have all these lords, I have like graveyard hate, I have this selfless spirit, so I can go wide.
Mhm.
I mean, it probably like helps that deck out, but you know, again, I hate to quote Boo Hoogland, but he said my favorite flavor text on current Magic cards is indestructible.
Yeah.
Right? Like your opponent gets to 5 mana and they cast Sunfall,
Right.
and you're just like, they all have indestructible. Oh. Or like you get them to 1 and they're like they farewell you, and you're like, well, I
Yep.
guess that didn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think it's good as like, your opponent is filling their graveyard,
Mhm.
and like you just hit this and you like, reset their thing. They like Stitcher Supplier, or they like Vessel of Nascency, and then you just play like they're desperately digging for their Grease Fang,
Yeah.
and you just exile all the vehicles in their graveyard.
Yep.
So like that seems really good. It's really bad for you cast your whatever reckless handling or whatever,
Yeah, it
and then
is.
you discard your thing, and they're just like, oh, I guess I'll just like poop and exile that. And you're like, oh,
It's
why?
the plight of Brian last few
Yes, yes,
years.
yeah. It's like, oh, we're just gonna like graveyard hate on like cards that are randomly playable. Because like even without the graveyard hate on this is a randomly play like Selfless Spirit is a like fine playable,
Yep.
right? And again, like if you combine, Thalia with this and the our copper coat whatever guy,
Mhm.
right? Like now you've made it so they can't cast their Sunfall
Right.
on 5, and maybe that extra turn is what you needed to get them dead.
Mhm.
Right? They could cast Supreme Verdict, but then you could sack this and um save your stuff, and you can get them dead before Sunfall matters.
Yep.
But it is awkward that it's like indestructible. It's like, yeah, all the removal spells now exile. So thanks.
Just doesn't matter.
Just doesn't matter.
All right. The next one here isn't necessarily for gameplay value, but we have
Okay.
Sarkhan's Soul Aflame. He is 1 blue red for a 2/4 legendary human shaman. It makes dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Sarkhan's Soul Aflame become a copy of it until end of turn, except its name is Sarkhan's Soul Aflame, and it's legendary in addition to its other types. This is probably a fine card to play alongside, I don't know, any number of dragons. Um, what I think is kind of cool here, though, is anytime we've ever seen Sarkhan, he was always like lost and angry and sad. In this artwork, he's so happy just to like be hanging out with his dragon buddies.
He's like, yes, these are my boys.
Yeah, I mean, look at him.
Like I'm not currently insane.
Yeah,
I'm not Sarkon the mad. I'm Sarkon the happy.
look at him. His soul's aflame, alight
He's
with
just,
love for dragons.
he's just like, I love these guys.
Yeah,
He's like, I love you, Ojitai. I love you too, bro.
he's blue. You're my boy, Blue.
My boy Blue. There you go. All right.
Yep, that's
And then
all.
we have one more.
We got 2 more.
2 more. Oh man.
Yeah. First up, we have Tyvar the Bellicose. 2 black red for a 5/4.
Black
Tyvar's
green.
been. I'm sorry, black green. Yeah, Tyvar's been working out. He's a 5/4 now.
Yeah.
Whenever 1 or more elves you control attack, they gain Death Touch till end of turn. And each creature you control has, whenever a mana ability of this creature resolves, put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of mana this creature produced. This only triggers once per turn.
Okay.
I mean, that can make some things awful big.
It can.
This is also
Like,
like above rate for a 5/4, right? 4 mana for a 5/4.
I was gonna say, I always feel like this is like kind of the going rate for black green 4 drops now. Like there was I guess it was one like black green. There was like a 5/4 that when it dealt damage to you, like you drew cards or something from like
Oh yeah,
guilds.
yeah.
Um, but like it's a good rate. It's a card that needs to come down early,
Mhm.
right? So like in modern or Pioneer or whatever, you're like Lano or Elf play a thing, then you need to like play Tyvar on, you know, turn 3 so that every time you tap your Lano or Elf, it gets big. Or you like tap your Heritage Druid once
Mhm.
and
And it's a
put like
monster.
6 counters on it. Yeah.
Well, same thing with like Archdruid. I mean, your Archdruid just gets immense.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I was thinking I said Heritage Druid, but I meant to say Arch Druid. But yeah,
Well, I
same
mean,
basic
Heritage
thing,
Druid
right?
also gets huge.
Yeah, Heritage Druid gets 3. But if you draw this late, then
Yeah,
you're in a situation where like you got to take a turn off
right. You're never gonna do that.
effectively. Yeah. I guess though with like Heritage Druid, you can like attack and then tap 3 other elves.
That's true.
So like you can like give those counters kind of haste.
Mhm.
if you have some way to use the mana in combat.
Yeah.
So sadly, he's too big to get companied into.
Yeah. Um, this also works with not elves.
Hmm.
So like when your Omnath makes 4 mana.
Is that a mana ability though? Or that's a triggered ability, right?
Hmm.
Because I think his is a triggered ability.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I'm I'm a level point 0.5 judge who's like out of practice, so
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that
Maybe
might
you're
be
right.
a little different. But like working with elves is the easiest thing. But like Omen Hawker,
Yep.
right? Like you could like tap your Omen Hawker and it would gain 2 counters.
Yeah.
I
Um,
know.
oh, did you got one more thought?
No, 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 I have no thoughts.
Okay. So what about with this guy? Well, I guess this doesn't work with him. But
No.
this is Karn Legacy Reforged. 5 mana for a star legendary artifact creature golem. When or Karn Legacy Reforged power and toughness are each equal to the greatest mana value among artifacts you control. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you add Wingding for each artifact you control. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So I guess yeah, this
Um
doesn't work with Tyvar, but like he can
no.
make a whole bunch of mana though, right?
It's a I mean baseline it's a 5 mana 5/5
Mm-hmm.
that like can make you a reasonable amount of mana. Now, I guess we like I guess the go-to is just like Cityscape Leveler
Yeah.
or a Portal to Phyrexia,
Mm-hmm.
where you have a couple artifact. Like you really only need like 3 artifacts to be able to like Portal Phyrexia pretty easily, and then this guy becomes a 9/9.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe I guess like you reckless handling for like your Karn, and then like you're like okay,
Just
let's see if
cast
we
your
can resolve
portal.
this. Yeah, just cast your portal. There we go. I don't want to discard this. Let's do this. Yeah, limiting it to only artifacts is safer because like this would just be like
Well,
nonsense.
it doesn't limit it to only artifacts. It limits it to anything but non-artifact spells. So you can still use it for abilities.
This mana can't be spent to cast. Okay. So again, we can launder it through other means
Right.
to make it let us cast stuff that we want. Um hmm. You see, like this lets you untap Basalt Monolith.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I don't know. It seems narrow, and
I mean,
like
it might be.
it has the modern problem of like it doesn't do anything when it comes into play,
That's true.
right? And then like you've got to like cross your fingers and wait because there's like a 5 mana Atali, like it's Plarg and something
Yeah.
that you have to wait till your next upkeep,
Yeah.
and then it just like eats a go for the throat. Well, I guess this doesn't, or eats like an invoke despair, and you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh, that's normal. I get to do my thing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a little awkward, but like I don't know, a deck that has like this guy and the Might Stone and the Weak Stone
Mm-hmm.
as like removal slash card draw, like you can generate a ton of mana.
Yeah. I mean, this guy Karn doesn't care what your artifacts are. They could be 100 food tokens.
Like I was just thinking, like imagine this in Commander if you like played this and then you played like a Dockside.
Just
And
all
you
of the
just
mana.
yeah, you make like 40 treasure you make 10, 15 treasures, and then
Yeah.
you're like, well, on my upkeep, I will make however many treasures I have plus 1 for my car and manas,
Right.
and I will figure out some way for you to die with my 30 mana this turn.
Yeah.
So I guess it's good that it's not like, on your combat step or whatever,
Hmm.
get this mana. But yeah, it seems narrow. It's not nearly as exciting as a colorless commander as the guy from the Commander Masters. Cascade, Cascade. All
Yeah.
right.
Brian likes some free spells.
Oh, do I ever? I don't want to pay mana for stuff. Um, yeah. So if you hadn't figured this out, dear listener, the joke for this set is a bunch of the planeswalkers lost their spark.
Yep. They
And
don't know
so
where it went.
they're currently backpacking across their plane to find themselves and perhaps find their spark.
Well, I think some of them are stuck on like random planes too, right? Like I'm pretty sure Nissa's on what used to be New Phyrexia.
Oh,
Like I
well, I'm
don't
just
think
saying
she's
they're
on
just like
Zendikar.
no, they're just on whatever plane they're on. That's
Yeah.
just like like a kid who went to Europe to
Yeah.
backpack across Europe to find themselves.
Yeah.
They're just somewhere, just looking to find themselves and see what really like sparks joy, like Marie Kondo
Oh, I
style.
see what you did.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking
Look
to
at me.
spark their joy.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so there's one other thing that literally happened yesterday.
Hmm.
So we're recording Monday. So Sunday during the Pro Tour, there was an announcement that they're changing standard rotation.
Yeah.
And so,
I don't have anything prepared for this, so
okay, neither do I. I have thoughts, and
okay.
that's what the people come for.
That's
Come
right.
for thoughts. Um, so you may remember 6 months ago, I think the tweet's here somewhere. Um, Aaron Forsyth was like, "Why does no one love standard anymore?" So this was November 8th. So yeah, like 6, 7 months ago. Basically, why does no one play standard anymore? Right. And we're trying to figure out how to fix this.
Yeah.
And so, step one of a multi-step plan that they have not yet developed,
Right.
you gotta love that, uh, is we're gonna change rotation from 2 years to 3 years. And my first thought was, okay, they couldn't possibly be doing this now. It'll be with the next set of cards because we can't live through another year of Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Invoke Despair. And they're like, no, no, no. Have another year of Fable of the Mirror Breaker and Invoke Despair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they so they have a couple goals that they highlighted. Goal one is, hey, we realize that magic is expensive and that we keep jacking up the prices on these things and giving you 5 card packs for the price of 15 card packs and inflation, yada yada, $7 eggs.
Yep.
um and so you don't want to be constantly having to buy new cards, so we are going to extend the lifespan of cards in standard,
Yeah.
right? So I don't think that that is the actual problem. Like, that doesn't address why people aren't playing standard.
Well, it also doesn't address the problem. Like it doesn't solve the problem that they say it's supposed to solve. If they're increasing the rotation time of cards, that doesn't mean you can still play those cards for that whole time. It just means that they're legal in the format the whole time. It doesn't mean that
Yes.
they're playable the whole time. Like, I mean, there's decks that existed prior to the current standard that are still legal that don't see play because they've been invalidated.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say we gosh, right when the podcast started, we were talking about the oh gosh, standard like pre-con decks, whatever they were called.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it was like, well, I was like, Niv Mizzet is super powerful. I can't imagine us like not being able to play Niv Mizzet for the next
right,
year, and like no one ever cast a Niv Mizzet ever again in that standard.
right.
It was like I said it, and everyone was just like, "Set these on fire." Gonna make him look as dumb as possible. Um, so yeah, like, of course, you you know, the whole format might be invoke despair deck,
Hmm.
but if they print some ridiculous blue red 4 mana thing that's like deal 8 damage, draw 3 cards,
Yeah.
right? Then invoke despair doesn't get to be played anymore.
Right.
Right? If Magnum Opus cost 5,
Right.
right? You would play that and not play Invoke,
Right.
right? So, and the way we design cards, that could happen. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the cards that you have in standard that are legal will be competitive,
Hmm.
right? Because there is a line, right? There are some people that just want to have a deck to play, and then there's like you and I that don't want to like go and just like be clown shoes 03,
Right.
like terrible unfun time. Um, but like if you're just like, hey, I want to have my cards be legal.
Hmm.
But the flip side of that is one of the things they've been trying to solve with alchemy and perhaps with March of the Machines aftermath is the format gets solved, in a week or two,
Right.
right? And so as we know what cards are powerful, right? Like I don't think that's going to change the format being solved quickly,
Right.
right? Like I don't know what cards you have to print at 3 mana to make people go like, I'm not going to play Fable, right? What 2 mana artifact you have to print to be like, I don't want to bank bust anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to reanimate stuff. Oh, I guess I won't reanimate Atraxa,
Right.
right? So like there is some of that where like if you know what the powerful cards are, like they're still just gonna keep getting played.
Hmm.
So I don't know if this solves that problem, right? Of like, people not like enjoying the format. But if they got a bunch of feedback back that was like, I don't want to spend money on your stupid card game anymore,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm spending too much money on your stupid card game. And they're like, okay, how can we make it so people spend less money on our stupid card game? And then like 3 Hasbro execs threw up, and then they started going from there.
Yeah.
They're like, no, if we can trick them into playing standard, they'll
Chad threw a
spend more
fit. That's
money.
what happened.
Yeah, dude, don't take my beans, bro. Dude, my beans, bro, don't take them. It just like punched Aaron Forsyth right in the throat.
Go for the throat.
You're not an artifact, Aaron. All right, so this next one.
Yeah.
Hey, if we stretch standard out, it will allow for mechanics and archetypes to be more effectively built on over time. So, um, this is kind of, yeah, we thought Toxic was going to be really good.
Yeah.
It's not. So, if Toxic is in standard long enough, that will allow us to throw more Toxic cards or cards that help Toxic as a set or
Right.
as a mechanic to like not suck. And we all remember seeing a deck and being like, wow, I really wish that worked in standard,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it happens all the time. You joked at the top of the show that we're becoming the casual set review podcast.
Mhm.
But every time we talk about a set, we talk about cards that we think are cool or interesting that just
Mhm.
aren't good enough. We talked about
Yeah.
multiple this episode.
Yes. So they're hoping that if they have more time with these cards, that they can be like, oh, Toxic didn't get there, but we now have an extra year to try to design some cards that will support Toxic so it gets there.
They're also, I don't know if this was by design or just a happy coincidence, but I think like we're working from both ends now. Like I think Wizards has gotten their production cycle down small
Mhm.
enough and now extending the rotation cycle where they can now design cards to work with cards that are still in standard and have them be standard legal at the same time.
Yes, this is something that Patrick Sullivan brought up,
Oh, okay.
right? It was that like now they can actually design cards around the cards that people are actually playing,
Yeah.
as opposed to around the cards they thought would get played.
Okay.
Um, which is valid. I think uh, part of the issue is right. Every set has a number of cards that are like just power outliers,
Mhm.
right? Atraxa,
Yep.
Fable the Mirror Breaker,
Yep.
Shieldred, right?
Yep.
And so if you want that to be, um, if you want to compete with those cards, you have to print other random cards that are at that power level.
Mhm.
And if you do that, like, do you run the risk of breaking this format or other formats? I think the example I used in the pre-show is like, we were talking about the Pro Tour, and half the Pro Tour top eight was red black,
Yep.
was Rakdos something, and then there was like one like soldiers deck,
Mhm.
right? If you wanted to make it so like the soldiers decks were, you know, maybe two in the top eight and like a handful like in the top 20 just on the outside looking in,
Yeah.
like what 3 mana white human soldier do you have to print to
Right.
push the rest of that deck into the same stratosphere as Shieldred, Fable,
Right.
and those cards? And it's like, okay, like you can imagine a card, right? Whatever you imagine that card is, does it break Pioneer? Does it break
Modern
Modern?
legacy.
Like, yeah, like you get this point where like if you have these decks that are super powerful that you're trying to like kind of tamp down,
Yeah.
you can either tamp them down by banning things or by like increasing the power level of everything else.
Yeah.
And you run the risk of like breaking stuff more if you're like, oh, we need to turn this up a little bit more
Yeah.
because
So, I
we
mean,
can't get this archetype where we want it. Go ahead, sorry.
like the other thing might be what we spent the whole rest of the show talking about. I mean, how long if it takes 18 months to get a regular set designed, tested, redesigned, artwork, set file, printed, distributed, because I think that's what the current time frame is 18 months.
Mhm.
Um, how much less time does it take to do that to a 50 card set?
I mean, maybe like a third of the time.
So, I mean, you could like maybe it wouldn't have to be one card that's ratcheted way up, but you could seed multiple cards through
Mhm.
these, little 50 card sets that kind of do the same thing.
Yeah. The 50 card sets might even be faster because how much of modern design is around limited?
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't like limited is not a thing you have to worry about. You just have
Yeah.
to
You don't
slap
have to
power and
test it at
toughness and
all.
like paragraphs on
Yeah.
cards, and then you just have to test standard
Right.
and be like, is this card too good or is it good enough to make the impact we want to make?
Yeah. You don't have
So
to
yeah,
worry about wrecking a limited format. You don't have to worry.
yeah. Um, and then the other thing they're saying is it would give us stronger tools to create an environment where decks are more colors and mechanic, like green white toxic or blue white soldiers, and less mid range. So with a large card pool, the format can handle bigger swings with entire decks seeded at once.
Mm,
So um as opposed to like, so what they're I would think what they're classifying as mid range is something I complained about when I came back to Magic, like with like the Abzan stuff,
yeah.
was like it just seems like cards aren't cohesive. Their decks aren't cohesive.
Yeah.
They are what is the best thing in my color at 1 mana?
Right.
What is the best thing in my colors at 2 mana? What is my best thing in my colors at 3, 4, 5?
Yep.
Right? And not so much like, oh, hey, like this card at 2 and this card at 4, they interact with each other really well. It's like, no, this is the most power and toughness and the best ability I can get at 2 mana.
Yeah.
That's Blood Tithe Harvester.
Simic
And
Mythics
then,
or whatever.
yeah. And then at 4 mana, I'm playing Shieldred
Yeah.
that has no synergy really with Blood Tithe Harvester other than it is the most power and toughness and ability I can get on a card for 4 mana
Yeah.
that is in these colors, as opposed to like, oh, hey, all of these pieces fit together
Yeah.
and they do this really neat thing now that they all fit together. Um, I just thought of something. When was the last time we had a deck all kind of seeded all at once and it was a bunch of the same mechanic just working together seamlessly?
Um, Food,
I was
energy,
gonna say energy.
Eldrazi.
But like energy, right?
Yeah.
Like energy was just like, hey, all of these things work together. You shouldn't play anything unless it says energy on it.
Well, I mean, the same thing could be said for the Simic food decks or the Eldrazi decks.
I was gonna say adventures, right? Like Teamer
Yeah,
Adventures was
adventures
another
too.
one. That's a
Yep.
probably better. Like if it needs to care about adventures or go on an adventure,
Yep.
and right, like they've had a tendency to miss with those.
Yeah.
And like I don't think they can ever eliminate the like mid-range deck,
Right.
right? Because like they print so many cards now that are just bonkers in power level.
Wall of text.
Yeah, it's like, well, this paragraph's better than this paragraph, so I'm going to play the better paragraph.
Yeah.
It's like, but this paragraph's a soldier. I don't care. This
Yeah.
paragraph says draw 2 cards and like kill a creature.
Yeah.
And your paragraph says draw a card, bounce a creature.
Yeah.
I'd rather draw 2 cards and kill it. Okay. So like I don't know if they can do that, but it is like I guess those two, the last two are a little scary because they don't have a good track record of doing this.
Right.
Right? They have missed when they've done this, or like they've not realized they've done it,
Hmm.
right? Because the adventure stuff was they wanted to have like a fun but powerful adventures deck
Right.
to work in the limited environment. And they forgot that people could just buy 4 of each of the uncommons
Yeah.
and like build a deck. Or like, oh, isn't like Witch's Oven and Cauldron familiar? Isn't that a cute little interaction?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, like now we have a standard format that you can't block
Right.
or you can't attack on the ground. You just can't do it. It's like, oh, oops. So I worry that they can like miss with these. Or you remember like Innistrad, like the zombie deck where it was just like it just felt like Wizards was like, here's a pre-constructed zombie deck.
Yeah.
Just play
Just
all the
take
cards
all
that
the
say
cards that say
zombie
zombie. Yeah.
and it will be good. Like there's I guess some of it is gone with like the way modern Magic is played, but there used to be like an element of like discovery
Hmm.
where you were like, oh, this card and this card interact really well together.
Yeah.
But when they just like seed an entire deck, it just kind of feels like they were like, did you did you read all the cards that we put soldier on?
Yeah.
Did you read all the cards that said toxic?
Yeah.
Did you put them in a deck? Okay, yeah,
You found
you've
it.
got
Good
four,
job.
yeah, you're 2-1ing every F and M.
Yeah.
Now like can you get to 3-1? Are
Right.
you can your play skill get you to 3-1 or 3-0? But we got you to 2-1
Yeah.
with like you took all the cards that said toxic and were uncommon or rare and put them together. So I think the bigger issue, right, that standard has 2 issues, right? First is why on earth would you play standard in paper?
I don't know.
You haven't played standard in paper forever. I haven't played standard in paper forever. I can count on like one hand the number of times I've been like, I want to play a standard deck
Yeah.
and like play the standard deck. Very few, right? Um, right. There's no GPs anymore. The uh the qualification system for the PT is like a convoluted mess that is maybe a little bit better, but not enticing enough to make me want to like do it.
Hmm.
Um, the professor tweeted out that part of the problem is like we don't have GPs and we don't have coverage.
Yeah.
Because like what was a really big driver for like you to like play standard was to go to a GP and maybe you would get a feature match,
Hmm.
right? I got a feature match once. They weren't doing coverage. Someone asked me my name and never came back to see who won or took my picture,
Well, you were also a
right?
backup feature match that never got featured, right?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure you were a backup match one time that never got camera either.
Uh, the Pro Tour Oko,
Yeah.
that GP, I got picked to
Well,
be a feature.
you got picked for the one that we played, Godfarrow's Gift, also.
Oh, okay. Um, but like you just like so you don't have oh gosh. Like you don't have that same motivation, right? So like why am I gonna go play paper cards and play at my FNM
Right.
when like all the incentives see like maybe I'll get good enough and I'll go to a GP and I'll get a feature match, right? Because like, you know, there's I think there are levels of Magic players, right? There are the people that like think they should go to the tournament and win.
Hmm.
They're the people that think they should go to the tournament in top 8.
Hmm.
They're the people that think they should go to the tournament and day 2. And then there are the people that are like, maybe I'll play well enough that I can get a feature match. Like that would be like the pinnacle of their weekend,
Yeah. Or play against
right?
somebody famous, or
Yeah, right. Um, and I think you and I are probably in the. I should probably be able to day 2 this,
yeah.
like, or like I should like hopefully be live to day 2, like in round 6 or whatever,
Right.
like kind of deal. But also like would still like a feature match. Like, please come grab me,
Absolutely.
right? And like they're like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. So like those people that like all they really wanted was to like be able to like text their friends and go like, "Oh my god, turn on Twitch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on." Like, we better be able to find the VOD. I gotta like save this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like those people just like, yeah, no, we don't do that anymore. And it's like, oh, like they lose that thing.
Mm.
So we've lost that, and also like we've talked about this before as well. If you want to play standard, you don't have to put on your pants.
Right.
You can just stay home and play hundreds of games of standard
On Arena.
on Arena while like watching a movie on another screen and like eating your own food,
Yep.
right? As opposed to like having to put on pants and then like only get 3 matches in across like 2.5 or 3 hours
Yeah.
and have to pay like $3 for a bottle of Coke, right? You're like, no, I can just stay home, play way more games,
Yeah.
and not have to deal with any of this stuff. So like they're competing with themselves,
Basically. Well, I mean,
right?
they're doing more than that though, because not only have they built a system where they have to compete with themselves and with everything else on the planet for your free time, but like they've taken away all of the reasons to play standard. Like you said, there's no incentive to get good at standard anymore. And what standard used to be was like the way to get new players into the game. That was where
Mhm,
you started before you found whatever format was your home. And I mean, standard might be your home. I was the standard guy forever. Whenever
mhm.
we went to an event, I was the standard guy. But they've also taken like that away from standard. Like you don't teach people how to play Magic anymore with standard. Now you teach people how to play Magic with Commander.
Mhm.
So like, what is at least when you showed up to, way, way back in the day when we ran multiple formats a night at the game store,
Hmm.
there was a very specific crowd of people that played modern and that played draft and that played standard. And they were, there was some overlap, but they were roughly arranged by skill level.
Hmm.
And, a lot of the newer players played standard. And in standard, there was also, based on your record, it was subdivided by players. I knew when I first started going to the game store that I would probably be playing my matches against the same 5 or 6 people every week until I got better. And then I moved up and I would play my matches against the same dozen or so people until I got better. And then I would start top eighting. And
Yeah.
there was a progression there where you weren't just getting raffle stomped every time you showed up to Magic because, you lose the first round and you get put in the bracket with all the people that lose the first round. Um, like that sort of thing doesn't really exist anymore because there might only be 8 people playing standard, and those 8 people have a reason to play standard. It's not because they're learning the game. It's because, whatever reason they have for playing standard, they're going to a GPT or they're going to a PT or whatever it is, or PTQ.
Yeah.
Like people don't play standard for fun anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. And because of that, like there's not an incentive for a new player to play standard and just get stomped by somebody that's prepping for an event.
Yeah. Like, and like you said, like the majority of people play commander,
Yeah.
and they bring the players in that way. And like you can't even like tell someone the story of like, well, if you get good at standard, then like, you know, in 6 months there is a GP in Charlotte,
Hmm.
and it's a 3 hour drive. We're gonna go up and play the main event. We'll go up a day early. We'll do side events, blah 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 blah. So like we should start playing standard now so that we can like learn the format.
Yeah.
And yes, there'll be like a set release like a month before, but like you'll have that like foundation of like what cards are good and what
Right.
interactions are good. So that it'll make learning the new format in that last month way easier. And it's like, hey, once a quarter there's going to be a Magic Con somewhere on Earth.
Yeah.
And uh let's see, it was in Philadelphia, which is an 8 hour drive, and Minnesota, which is not drivable
Right.
for us and vast swaths of the world.
Hmm.
Um, so like, why are we gonna bother to like do standard
Right.
if like there's not that big thing at the end?
Right.
Like, I don't think they really considered the fact that everything that they had done for years incentivized standard and like F&M play,
Yeah.
right? And then they just were like, we're not going to incentivize it anymore. And now they're like, oh my God, no one is doing this anymore. I wonder
I
why. And
wonder why.
it's like, hello, you told people don't do this,
Right.
right? There is no reason for you to do this. Stay home and play arena. And then they all stayed home and played arena. And then you were like, why aren't you playing in the store anymore? I don't understand. It's like, you did this to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you told people to do something and they listened. Shocking, I know, but this is why they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So then you're just in this situation where, like, they're trying to fix the wrong thing, right? Like, if you said that once a month there would be a GP and there would be two each set that were standard and then one each set that would be modern or pioneer,
Yep.
right? And you just had that set up and you did 12 events a year, right? You would have way more people playing standard
Hmm.
because you were like, what is the most important format for a Magic player if you want to like climb this
Be
ladder that we
competitive.
have developed?
Yeah.
Yeah, to be competitive, right? Or to like even dream about being competitive.
Right.
Or they're like or to be like the person that there are two people in your store that are competitive that are going to this event, and you might not be super competitive, but like you want to play in that event with them.
Yeah.
Well, then you learn standard, right? But if like everything you're doing is, hey, here's the 85th commander product of the year. And yeah, this is a Magic Con because we want to make it friendly and like there's like 12 tables for competitive like side events, and then here are like 45 tables for commander play.
Yeah.
Um, well, then you're like telling people play commander,
Right.
and people respond to incentives, and a lot of the player bases responded to the incentives. Again,
Mhm.
like how many tweets have we seen uh about like Brad Nelson being like, "Oh, what should my commander be?"
Right.
Right? Hi, I'm Reed Duke, and here's my like top 10 commander deck building tips.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you play modern
Yeah.
and standard, Reed. Like, no, you don't play commander. It's like I do now.
Yeah.
I got to eat
Yeah. And I mean, Brad's whole thing was he was the king of standard for,
like 10 years,
yeah.
and now he's like, uh, what commander best uh represents me? You like Queen of Bears. Move on.
Because you're a
Um,
bear.
you're a bear. Uh, or Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson.
Wilson the bear. Um, bear tribal.
Yeah.
But you you can't be surprised, and like leaving the cards in standard longer isn't gonna fix those incentives.
Right. Well, I mean,
Leaving,
to be fair, they said this is the first step of a plan. And I took that to mean that they're going to make changes to incentivize standard in the store, not just change the way the format works.
hopefully, I I am always skeptical of any plan
Yeah.
that has implement step 1
Figure out
and then
rest of plan.
says, while later steps are still in the planning stages,
Yeah.
we felt it was important to share this change as early as possible once our plans around rotation were locked into place.
Yeah.
So, like,
First step
I
of
get,
revitalizing organized play. Dismantle organized play. Second step, figure out the rest.
yeah. Second step, revitalize.
Yeah.
Um, so I hope you're right that they do realize that they've just like blown up the entire incentive structure.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it feels like you would again, not corporate. I'm not around corporate speak a lot,
Mhm.
but academic speak and corporate speak are very similar.
Yeah.
Uh like the fact they didn't come out and say like, "Hey, we've recognized the problem is we need to do more to incentivize standard play." Right? And we're going to work on doing that and like try to make standard an important part of 60 card parenthesis 80 card
Yeah.
Yorion uh magic formats,
Mhm.
right? But like, no, we have some later steps. We have some steps. And it's like, well, what do you guys think the problem is?
Yeah.
And like, because were they saying like, oh hey, we're like what was their thing about arena and standard? Um More and more players enjoy Pioneer and Modern. Standard sees more play on Match the Gathering Arena than individual than individual games in any other format. Sees more play on. Uh, I thought Alchemy was killing it, but whatever.
Yeah.
So okay, so like you answered your question.
Right.
Wow, I play all my standard games on Arena.
Yeah.
I would like to do something else. I guess on one hand, they can say we're a victim of our own success. We made Arena too good. So we'll see where this goes. I hope they like take more. They're in a weird spot, right? They don't want to ban stuff in standard,
Right.
but
I mean,
like I
that's
don't know.
counter to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but like I don't know how you like look at Fable and Shieldred and
Yeah.
go like, this is good.
Yeah.
Or because I think we talked about in the pre-show, like the Pioneer Red Black deck is just the standard deck
Yeah. With
with
blood
like Bone
crypts.
Crusher Giant, like Bone Crusher Giant and Blood Crypts.
Yeah.
That's it. And like that's not a good place to be.
Right.
And then like Fable of the Mirror Breaker is a 4 of in many legacy decks.
Mm-hmm.
So like you've got to like that card is very powerful and it's gonna keep getting played.
Yeah.
And so you like can dress up the stuff around the edges, but you get the same play patterns in the end.
Yep.
And like, are people gonna want to have those similar play patterns for multiple years? So, all right, we got anything else?
No, I think that'll do it. That's enough.
All right,
That's a
with all that, I think we got a show.
we got a show.
So, if you would like to, I don't know, float some ideas about how we can fix standard, uh, again, I'm sure Mario listens. We'll pass those on to him.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let us know what you guys think of standard.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you guys think? Are you guys playing it? Like, is it something that like happens at your like local LGS, or is it something that has like died?
And what can be done to fix it.
Yeah, what would make you play standard?
I don't that's a hard question. I might have to get back to you. I was
Yeah,
actually trying to answer this question earlier. And I don't know if there is a thing that would make me play standard again.
not
Un-
being 40. We hit
Unfortunately.
that point. You're like,
I
man, I'm
mean,
40.
that might be part of it too. Like, I definitely have a different perspective of the world over the last, I'll say, 18 months than I did
18
beforehand.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like big world events happened in that time.
Well, I mean, the big world events were more than 18 months ago, but
Fair, fair. Um, so if you want to reach out to us on social media with any of those thoughts, all those links are in the description. So get in there, click on them, and say hey.
yeah, let us know. If you're looking to support the show, there's two ways you can do it. The first is super easy with our TCG Player affiliate link. CasualTryHard.com/TCG is the link that you need to follow. Anything you purchase after following that link to TCG Player will help to support the show by getting us a percentage of your purchase price. So it doesn't cost you anything and helps us out. We'd appreciate it. If you're looking to support us more directly, you can do so at patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Patrons get access to our show notes. They get access to our pre-show. More of us every week is always good. And you get put on my mailing list when I have stuff to send out. I have stuff to send out. So if you're on the fence, sign up quick before I send my stuff out, and I'll include you in my list.
Who doesn't like stuff?
Yeah, stuff is always good. Again, that's patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. And chip a couple bucks in. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we'll catch you on the internet.
We'll catch you on the internets.